Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening everyone, thanks for joining us. First tonight, the Commission of Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse has heard of a dysfunctional culture on the ward where alleged pedophile nurse James Griffin worked. Another victim and her family speaking out about how Mr Griffin groomed them into accepting his behaviour.
Annette Whitemore worked with James Griffin on Ward 4K at the Launceston General Hospital, their two families becoming friendly. She says that may have clouded what she was seeing.
People that met him once or twice, they would say at the time, oh, he's a bit creepy. And you'd say, that's just Jim.
Annette's daughter Keely was one of those allegedly preyed upon by the nurse who died in 2019. She today explained to the Commission of Inquiry how she was groomed by him.
He would find an interest that you had and roll with it. He'd quite often call me his special girl, which obviously looking back on it is weird.
Ms Whitemore also described a lack of understanding about what avenues were available to report professional concerns.
Until 2019, when all this happened, came out, I never knew I could go straight to APRA.
The nurse unit manager of Ward 4K says the relationship between staff was far from unified.
Was it well understood at the hospital that there was a dysfunctional culture on Ward 4K?
I think that's fair to say.
She admitted she saw Griffin engage in unprofessional conduct over a number of years in public areas, but says it wasn't addressed until a complaint was made.
Did you see it as inappropriate behaviour then?
Yes.
Why did you not stop inappropriate behaviour on a children's ward?
I did try. I did address issues when I saw them.
She was also questioned about a meeting with the parent of the patient in 2009. The parent described Griffin as a womaniser and a sleaze, also saying, "You've got men working here looking after children. Bad things happen, we know that."
It was a generalised statement about men and not particularly Mr Griffin. There didn't seem to be the link.
An emotional Miss Leonard saying Griffin took advantage of the situation.
We were deceived, we were manipulated, and we were sold a version of Mr Griffin that he wanted us to believe.
Also giving evidence, ANMF State Secretary Emily Shepherd, who said her union had no knowledge of claims against Griffin until after his death. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
And if you or anyone you know needs help or this story has caused distress, contact the Sexual Assault Support Service on 1800 697 877. Vulnerable and rural Tasmanians are set to suffer the impact of telehealth changes as the vital service becomes harder to access. Long sessions no longer receive the Medicare rebate, while doctors could be at risk of losing their registration if they exceed a set limit.
An exciting job opportunity saw Ruby Cairns starting a new chapter in Hobart. But only 2 weeks after the move, things took a turn for the worse.
I was crossing an intersection with a green man at the time, and a car swung around, didn't see me, and basically, to put it bluntly, carried me across the road.
Battling concussion, 12 stitches in her head, whiplash, bruising and newfound anxiety, Ruby relied heavily on telehealth appointments.
That first week was all a bit of a blur, but I just remember being able to do telehealth appointments from my bedroom, like I wouldn't even have to leave bed.
Brought into effect when the COVID-19 pandemic erupted, 17.6 million patients have benefited from the telehealth services. But as of July 1, the federal government will change the way Australians receive medical support. Phone consults exceeding 20 minutes will no longer be eligible for Medicare rebate.
If you've got someone who's suicidal on the phone, you don't want to put down the phone at 20 minutes.
Professionals will also run the risk of having their registration revoked if they bill more than 30 telehealth consults in 20 days over the course of a year.
If a GP was unwell at home with COVID or the flu, was contagious, they couldn't come to work, but wasn't that unwell because they're fully immunised, then they could do telehealth from home, and you might clock up more than 30 in a day.
My doctor actually had COVID for some of my appointments, so he was able to work from home.
The Albanese government says it is considering extending the Medicare items beyond tomorrow, a crucial service at risk of being cut. BRIANNA, BOYLEN, 7 Tasmania News.
Burnie ratepayers will soon be feeling more pain in the hip pocket, with a 10% rate rise to come into effect for the next financial year. 5 councillors voted in favour of the motion during a fiery meeting last night, claiming the move was necessary following 4 years of council deficit. Mayor Steve Cons and Deputy Mayor Giovanna Simpson both voted against the hike, which will see residential rates rise by an average of 10.2%. An 18-year-old man has been charged after an armed robbery attack in MUIR last night. Around 11:35, the offender allegedly used a knife to threaten a food van worker on Charles Street before fleeing the scene with a quantity of cash. No one was physically harmed. The accused appeared before the Hobart Magistrates Court today. He's been remanded in custody until August 12. Skyrocketing rental prices across the state have been uncovered in the latest census data. It shows household rents have increased by an average of 150% over the past 5 years.
Rents are increasing at astronomical rates, and yet their wages aren't keeping up with the costs of living. It's another demonstration of policy failure by this government.
We recognise the real challenges, not only of affordable housing, of course, but also homelessness. Converting the Waratah Hotel was an example where we have stepped in.
Nearly 4,400 families are currently on the public housing waiting list. Northwest youth aspiring to become pharmacists have a new pathway to achieve their goals. It's hoped the Bachelor of Pharmacy degree being introduced in the North and Northwest will help alleviate demand for staff in regional areas.
Aiming to boost the dosage of pharmacies across Tasmania.
We have a lot of trouble in the past attracting students to come for their placements up to Launceston or the Northwest Coast.
Northwest University students now have the choice to study pharmacy closer to home. UTAS are offering an Australian first fast-track 3-year degree at their Burnie and Launceston campuses.
One of the things that we do know is that those students, local students from the Northwest Coast, if they can study locally, are likely to stay locally and therefore contribute to their local communities.
For local Burnie pharmacist Jack MUIR Wilson, it's an opportunity to help showcase the profession to his local community.
To see people from the region get that opportunity that other people haven't had in the past, it's an amazing thing that UTAS have done to put this course here.
The Pharmacy Guild has welcomed the decision by the university to offer the course away from the major centres. They're hoping the new graduates will help fill a shortage of pharmacists in regional areas.
Having people studying in our own areas, we're just able to showcase community pharmacy as a potential opportunity for their employment in the future.
Anyone who has a passion for helping people is being urged to consider a career in the field.
It's an extremely rewarding job. If you like communicating, if you like healthcare, if you like science.
Students can apply for the course this trimester, with studies commencing next year. Mark Zeta, 7 Tasmania News.
And Tasmania lacks a team in our own national competition, but it will soon feature in an Aussie Rules League overseas. The state's brand will appear on the footballs used in the United States AFL competition in a deal all about kicking goals in marketing.
Here's one sponsorship the government can't wait to give the boot.
Tasmania's name will be branded on the footballs in USA AFL.
A 48-team competition featuring the likes of the Austin Crows, the Atlanta Kookaburras and our sentimental favourite, the North Texas Devils. Costing $20,000, the deal is a trade exercise rather than part of the AFL team bid.
Sport is a way to get into the American heart.
A heart which pumps nearly $250 million into the state each year. With more than 1,000 players in the American League, the wine industry hopes it'll be one of the biggest beneficiaries.
The US is a major market for us and it's growing very, very quickly.
The irony is Tasmania remains unrepresented in its own national league, but the footy branding could capture the hearts of expat fans if a licence is secured.
An open invitation to everyone across the United States of America to be at our first game, AFL game, when Tasmania joins the National Football League.
A sport which has tried for decades to crack the American market.
The Americans seem to love the game here and they're cheering at the right time.
Now has a tiny Tassie footprint. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, Tasmania's Winter Light Festival is back for a second year after the pop-up event's success during COVID. Featuring a diverse range of performances, exhibitions and art installations, the festivities are designed to celebrate culture.
There has been cases of people having to overcome racism and different kinds of isms. But at our heart, we're a very inclusive, friendly and kind community.
Very happy we can introduce to more people specific music instruments and music experience.
The festival will light up the city come August 11. More than 300,000 entries have been recorded in another season of Dark MOFO festivities in southern Tasmania, with the burning of the Ogga Ogga and the Reclamation Walk among the most popular events. Ticket sales generated more than $3 million in revenue.
2019 was our biggest year and we had about 320,000 entries through in 2019, so we're about 20,000 short of that this year, which I think is amazing to come out so strongly after a pandemic.
Interstate travellers accounted for 65% of all ticket sales. Dates to paint the town red once again will be announced later this year. A chance to work on the coolest continent in the world could soon be a reality for the right applicants. The Australian Antarctic Division is again on the hunt for more people to join its ranks to enhance ongoing research efforts.
Battling below freezing temperatures isn't hard when you're on the tools in one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
Inspecting our HF antennas down here after a blizzard to make sure they're all still okay, and just having penguins come up and have a look at me because they're curious about what I was doing.
The search has begun for more workers willing to embrace this unique environment, with mechanics and communications technicians being asked to put their best foot forward.
They need to be skilled and experienced in the role that they are applying for, and it's really important that they have a focus on excellence in the work that they do.
Successful applicants will be based at research stations in Antarctica and Macquarie Island this upcoming season, contributing to a national effort like no other.
If you make it, it's the trip of a lifetime. It's an incredible experience and you can't do this sort of stuff that we're doing down here anywhere else.
12 positions are now open as the demand for more hands on deck becomes evident.
We've identified a need for some additional positions associated with the growing work that we are undertaking in Antarctica.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
She was part of Tasmania's history-making WNCL win last year, and now ELYSE Villani hopes to win trophies for the Hobart Hurricanes in the WBBL. The batter has signed a 2-year deal, also becoming the captain of the side. Villani scored 439 runs for the Melbourne Stars last season, including a stunning century against the Adelaide Strikers.
Sal and I both love winning and competing. It's something that we're striving for, there's no doubt about it. So is every other team.
The Hurricanes also confirming former captain Rachel Priest won't be returning to Tasmania. The domestic one-day cup is returning to Launceston for the first time in 13 years. Tasmania will take on Victoria on October 26. The one-day cup and Sheffield Shield competitions are returning to a full fixture after 2 COVID-ravaged seasons, with the Tigers Shield campaign beginning in Queensland on October 6. While the Women's One-Day Cup is expanding to a 43-game competition, Tasmania takes on Victoria first up. Devonport's Ruby Gray has snuck into the final of the Under-16 Women's Asian Championship after pulling away from Korea 97-81 in today's semi-final. Gray scored 3 points in the win. The Aussies will play either Japan or New Zealand in the decider. Opal star Mariana Tolo will debut for the Launceston Tornadoes against Dandenong on Saturday night at Elphin. She'll take the place of the WNBL's Kelsey Griffin, who is heading to the US on personal leave.
She's a lot bigger than anyone we've had before, so that'll change our style of play a little bit, obviously trying to feed it into her a lot and get some movement away from her so that she can go to work.
Meanwhile, Dallas-born JAMAR SANDIFER is hoping to debut for the Chargers in Kingston on Friday night. The new import says he'll bring a lot of energy to the court.
I'm a very exuberant, emotional player. I love the game so much, so you're going to get a lot of emotion out of me, man. I'm going to play hard every play. You're going to see a lot of athleticism.
The Thunder returns to Ulverston to host Dandenong after 2 losses on the road last weekend.
Good evening. 13 was a popular temperature today, reaching right across Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport. 15 was the state's top in Grove and Bushy Park, Lyonie 7 and 14 about Smithton and Low Head. On the close-up shows thick layers of cloud blanketing Tasmania. Further out, middle and high-level cloud is seen blanketing the eastern half of the mainland, with low-level cloud to the northwest. Tomorrow shows the high to the west becoming more dominant as it extends into the Bight. Southwest to southeasterly winds tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots, swells up to 5 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for the southeast coast of the state. Tomorrow's forecast now: Hobart, a possible early shower, cloudy across Cygnet and New Norfolk. In the north, 13 about Launceston and Devonport, partly cloudy in Campbelltown. Burnie tomorrow, partly cloudy, 11 in Strawn, a shower or 2 in Smithton. St Helens and Fingal, partly cloudy, and Swansea expecting a possible shower. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast now: Friday, light showers about the western half of the state, fine elsewhere. Saturday, light showers across the west and far south. And Sunday, showers about the west and far south, mostly sunny elsewhere. Capital cities, 19 and mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow. Melbourne, partly cloudy and 25 in Darwin. And currently Hobart cloudy and 13, Launceston 9 and Devonport cloudy and 11. That's all in weather tonight, Kim.